The Kazakh population has historically viewed the Russian authorities as entities that contradict their fundamental interests, suppress their freedom, and undermine their independence. The era of Stalinism, characterized by its political and social implications, commenced in the Soviet Union following Joseph Stalin's rise to power in the late 1920s. In Kazakhstan, the implementation of Stalin's policies and reforms gained momentum during the 1930s. During Philip Goloshokin's reign in 1925, enlisting the direct support of Stalin, Kazakhstan lost half of its population. In the period 1931-33, a tragic famine disaster occurred. This catastrophe was a direct consequence of the collectivization of agriculture and the economical policies.
1936 жылы Москвада большевиктер партиясының желтоқсан айында пленум өтеді. Сол пленумда арнайы баяндама жасаған Сталин сонда айтады, біздің жетіп қалғанда 200-лер бар, тығылып қалғандар бар, халық шаруашылығында зиянкестік жасаушылар бар, яғни жаулар бар, солардың бәрін әшкерелеп, түп тамырымен құрту керек деген жаңағыдай тапсырма берді.
Stalin's repressive machine worked day and night to keep the country in a constant mode of total fear. In 1937-38, the most prominent figures of culture and science were invoked in enemies. The Soviet government began to create concentration camps like the Algiers Gulag. The executions of the intelligentsia were called the highest measures of social protection.
Жалпы Қазақстанда саяси репрессиялар 20-шы жылдардан бастап 50-ші Сталин қайтыс болғанға дейінгі кезеңде 50-ші қосқанда 125 мың адам екен репрессияға ұшыраған. Соның 25 мыңы ату жазасына кесіліп өмірден кеткендер.
September 1937, on the basis of the joint resolution of the Council of People's Commissariat on the eviction of the Korean population from the border areas of the Far Eastern Territory, signed by Stalin and Molotov, 172,000 ethnic Koreans were evicted from the border areas of the Far East to uninhabited virgin areas of Central Asia to the Ural Sea and Balkhash and Uzbek SSR. In doing so, it was ordered to reimburse the value of the remaining equipment and to facilitate travel abroad. Since the end of 1937, all national districts and village councils outside the Central Asian republics and oblasts were gradually abolished, also outside the autonomous areas. The teaching and production of literature in the Korean language was curtailed. In the Stalinist period, this eviction was officially called voluntary resettlement, as party representatives of the exiled nationalities took part in its preparation and implementation. On the 1st of April 1993, a decree of the Supreme Council of the Russian Federation outlawed acts taken since 1937 against Soviet Koreans and, in effect, Koreans were rehabilitated as victims of political repression.
The Soviet Union's victory in the war was its unbearable power and heightened tension in the international arena, sparking the Cold War. In the late 1940s, new legislation reflected the ideology and policies of the authorities. The Central Committee's resolution on August 14, 1946 marked the start of ideological repression, targeting the intelligentsia to instill fear, which had already been present since 1937. The late 40s and early 50s marked the peak of the camp system, with the Steppe camp alone housing 200,000 prisoners since 1949. Notably, the Karaganda and Justin camps were also significant. Many of the prisoners were former soldiers and officers who had been in fascist captivity, as well as participants in the anti-Soviet uprisings across the Baltics, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Caucasus. In 1948, special regime camps were established for those convicted of counter-revolutionary and anti-Soviet activities, and it was in these camps that rebellions occurred in the late 1940s and early 1950s. According to the survey, 60% of respondents confirmed that their relatives were victims of repression, while 40% said no. Around 66% of respondents stated that their ancestors helped the repressed, whereas roughly 35% said no. Approximately 62% of respondents answered yes when asked if their ancestors suffered from repression, while about 39% responded with no. When asked if these events were considered crimes against humanity, approximately 66% answered yes, 19.2% said no, and 50.4% were unsure or found it difficult to say. Regarding the impact of these repressions on Kazakhstan, around 77% of respondents believed the impact was negative, approximately 11.5% had a neutral opinion, and another 11.5% thought the impact was positive. Around 70% of respondents claimed that their ancestors had returned home, while the rest indicated their ancestors did not return home. And the final pie chart reveals that several nations were involved in that whole process.